Yeah, I was thinking about doing my like matchups trends pod, but hey, we did the Eastern Conference. We got to do the Western Conference, kind of two parted. We'll have the same kind of approach. We talked about the Pistons being hot, tough loss for them. Maybe we'll talk about the Clippers and James Harden's 50 ball last night. But we're going to talk about the Lakers. They're certainly the story of the NBA right now. 7-game winning streak, and they've been doing it with, you know, a lot of like pretty easy, impressive wins, and they're doing it in a way we didn't think. All we talked about was like, oh, you're giving away Anthony Davis, you're giving away your best player defensively and your second best player defensively. You're going to be bad. You're going to have to win games like 135 to 130, yada yada. Well, that's not the case. Over their last 7, they're first in defense, first in half court defense, they're allowing the fewest putback points per miss over this span, and the rim defense has been insane in 6 of those 7 games, excluding the game against the Pelicans. Pelicans really attacking the basket. So let's start with the defensive side of the ball here. Austin Reeves coming back today from a mild injury that cost him a week, but what have they been doing defensively that has been so impressive to keep some pretty good teams down overall?
Yeah, I mean, you said it, right? And I remember, when Drew and I did the pod last month after the first couple Luka games, we were focused on the kind of trade off of, oh, they're going to be so good on offense, but what are they going to give up on defense? And here we are, now doing this pod, and they've been the number one defense. And you got to give it, I mean, just a ton of credit to JJ Redick, right? And
Mm-hmm.
where this has been a long streak now of just elite defense, and with a bunch of different groups that has been thrown to him. So I would say, I mean, the guy who I think really needs a ton of credit is Jackson Hayes right now,
Mm-hmm.
where after the Mark Williams trade gets rescinded, a lot of focus comes in on him, and who has really not been a great rim protector throughout his career. But look, he's really stepped up to the challenge and given him some great minutes starting in that center role. And the way he's just giving them the flexibility of being able to play with different lineups and everything is just really unlocking what we're seeing is like elite defense. So I mean, it's a credit to the entire team. I would say it starts with JJ Redick, but I mean, Jackson Hayes, the way he's been able to step up, post this Mark Williams trade getting rescinded is really impressive, and we're seeing the results now.
Yeah, I would say a little bit Jackson Hayes, certainly the rim protection and the
Mhm.
rebounding, that's him. But a lot of it is, I'm giving a lot of credit to LeBron. I
Yeah,
mean, we've seen LeBron guard like Jamal
yeah,
Murray and these like top options all of a sudden and picking up, 3/4 court down the line. And the guy coming off his, Western Conference Player of the Month award at 40. And, you can make a case if it was deserved or not with SGA, Joker. But hey, I'm not going to argue. I mean, LeBron's impact defensively with his instincts and with his ability to create turnovers and getting passing lanes and just quarterback the defense in a way that's just so impressive. Just a classic extension of the coaching staff. Major credit to Reddick with their ability to mix up defenses, playing not as much drop. Jackson Hayes playing more show and recover, not as much. He's been really a drop big most of his career, and that hasn't really been what he's been doing as much. So LeBron gets a lot of credit. Even Luka, we'll talk about Luka more offensively, but hey, he's been like holding his own. A guy that like gets targeted hasn't really been hurt too much. Gabe Vincent looks kind of healthy overall, and he's hurt now, but earlier Jordan Goodwin was making impact defensively as well. Dalton Connect's not playing. It's just like a whole, and then I mean Dorian Finney-Smith as well. Dorian Finney-Smith is a guy I've really respected defensively. So not getting a lot of like clear cut. If we talk about the Wolves, we'll talk about how Jade McDaniels and Nah are like clearly impacting the defense. It's been like a classic team effort there. But yeah, Jackson Hayes' rim protection and being able to keep guys off the paint, which was an issue. Even when they had Anthony
yeah.
Davis, there was 2-3 week stretches where they were like the worst rim defense in the NBA. Their transition defense has still been kind of like meh. But yeah, major credit to just being able to lock teams down. And again, like I was trying to say, they've gone against the Clippers twice, the Wolves, the Mavericks before they got really hurt. They had PJ Washington, Kyrie in that game. The Nuggets, that was one of the most impressive wins really of the season to go out there and perform like that and truly dominate that game in altitude there. So that was a huge win. The Blazers were playing good ball. They really kept them as well. Offense kind of mad, but yeah, and the Pelicans, we saw the Pelicans, put up what 130 or whatever on the Jazz. Obviously, it's the Jazz, but hey, they held them down. They held them in check. So, it's not like they're just playing all crappy teams. They've been able to do it and do it with just classic rim protect, just not giving the easy stuff. Transition, sure, but yeah, huge effort there. And then yeah, like I said, their pick and roll handler defense is like first. They've been basically like shutting off ball handlers, which is kind of why I'm giving a little bit of credit to LeBron and Gabe Vincent as well there. So let's talk offense. Their offense has been like mediocre. You'd think that, with the stat lines we've seen Luka put up and LeBron coasting to 30, that would be like why, like we were saying. But just 12th in offense, 18th in half court offense. But man, I mean, we really saw it kind of the other night with the 15 assists from Luka. It just looks so easy for them out there. What's been your kind of early returns during this 7-game win streak from the Luka LeBron dynamic with the co-handling? And then Austin Reeves has been out for like 2.5 games, so we'll get him back today as well.
Yeah, and I think, where you were just rattling off all those names right now, like all these guys stepping up, and it really shows kind of the spirit of this team, right? Where even, Rui has gone down and Reeves
Yep.
has missed a couple of games, but you're just naming off guys and everyone's just stepping up, making their role. And I mean, they're looking as good as you can. And just offensively, right? Where Luka, it just seems like, at the beginning, I think you really saw kind of the rust, maybe the shock of the trade and
Mm-hmm.
all, and he wasn't really, what we've seen out of Luka. And now you said, like, yesterday or last game against the Pelicans, where he's 30 and 15, one of only 4 Lakers to even have that stat line before. And it's just, and we're just really starting to see the potential of what it can be, right? There's still, I don't even think they're just kind of scratching the surface of what this offense could be. And LeBron, who
Mm-hmm.
just, I mean, you're talking about the defensive end and just on offense, it's like, I mean, he's just unbelievable. So yeah, I mean, they're clicking everywhere, and you got to think. I mean, there's only really there's so much more room to keep going, right? I mean, they still have only had not too much time fully healthy, and we're talking about Reesman's a couple games. He's back or supposed to be back tonight. He's probable, so
Yep.
we'll see how they keep growing on this. But I mean, right now you got to be super encouraged by what they've been shown recently.
Yeah, and just getting into the paint, and they're not playing with like too much pace overall, but a little bit more than they were before, which is nice. So yeah, but again, just being able to control the perimeter and control the paint. I will note with their defense, they've been a little bit lucky. They've allowed 32 point. Their 3-point percentage against is 32.6% over this win streak. That's the best in the NBA when they've allowed the eighth highest volume. So getting a little lucky on the 3-point line. But like I always say, if you're first over a 5, 6, 7 game span, I'm going to be pretty impressed, especially when, like I said, you're going up against, obviously the Pelicans' record's terrible, but they're a pretty good team when they have Zion and Trey Murphy and CJ and Alvarado, yada, yada. So, yeah, pretty impressive there. But, yeah, I've just been really impressed by, just having Luka run the offense and LeBron being, a secondary, second side offense. Again, just like coasting to 30 the other night. Such an easy 30 because he's just playing off Luka and that game they've been running there. And then any other offensive pieces that you've been noticed? Obviously, Jackson Hayes, I think he scored like all his points in the first half the other night. Is Jackson Hayes like? I guess it's kind of the big. That's kind of what we talked about. I don't think there's really much to say about LeBron and Luka and Austin Reeves and their fit. And I guess the big questions are: is this defense sustainable to you? Do you think they could kind of keep this going? Do you think this is just like kind of getting lucky, like I said, with the 3-point shooting? But then again, they've been really good at limiting handlers and taking away rim defense over a 5, 6, 7 game span. That's not luck, man. Like teams don't miss that much at the basket with great regularity. Like they're NBA players, they're going to shoot decently at the basket. So is this like sustainable, or is this just them kind of running hot defensively?
I think probably a combo of both, right? Where do I
Mm-hmm.
expect them to be the best defense in the NBA over, longer term? Probably not, but I think
Mm-hmm.
what they're showing is that they're going to be able to offset the issues that we thought of initially, right? Where they're just not going to have enough size. And, we think about, like, you really saw it in that Denver game where they're just able to concoct a plan where, they obviously don't have the personnel you'd think that you'd want for Jokic, but just scheme wise, they were able to do it. And, you're talking about Jackson Hayes. This was a guy with he opted into his player option at the minimum,
Mm-hmm.
right? This was not somebody who we would expect to be starting on a contender right now. And yeah, and then offensively, you said it right in a revenge game last game where he goes 8 for 8, he puts almost a 20-10 game, and I mean it's really unbelievable. So I mean, I just shout out to everyone. I mean, they're just able to find guys who are going to come in, give them good minutes. Dalton Connect last game, he comes in, steps up while Reeves is out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a really group effort right now, and we'll keep seeing how they can keep growing on this.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, they're going to be better than 12th in offense, I would think, right? Like Luka, pretty much wherever
Absolutely,
he
yeah.
goes, he's like a walking top 5 offense on top of LeBron, on top of Austin Reeves, a really good offensive player. Like they're going to be a top 6, 7, 8 offense, I think. So even if their defense falls to like average, then like you're good. If you're 7th in offense and 10th ish in defense, that's a pretty good team. Everyone talks about the top fives, top 5 offense, top 5 defense, or championship caliber. But hey, if you're top 7, top 10, that definitely puts you in a a conference finalist contender kind of a situation there. And then they, like I said, they are getting a little bit lucky. Cleaning the Glass has a location stat that tracks like what your field goal percentage should be, and they have they're ranked 25th. Like they're kind of giving up good shot location. Like I was saying with that 3-point shot stuff, it's basically just because the 3-point shot has been really working in their favor there. So yeah, I guess just putting kind of like, I guess to lead it off here as we kind of run through the West. I mean, they're second in the West right now. They're the hottest team in the NBA. Are they the biggest threat to the Thunder right now in the West?
I mean, the way they're looking now,
Mhm.
I think so. And it's look, I mean, there's still so much to see, and like you're saying with the offense too. Like last game we saw, that was their season high in points too. And look, Pelicans defense isn't great or anything, but it's just like what you're pointing to, where you got to think the
Mhm.
trajectory is only going to go up from here on the offensive end. So
Mhm.
I think right now the way things are looking, you got to think right now that I think they're the biggest threat to Oklahoma City. And look, I still Oklahoma City has been just dominant all season. Still believe they're in a tier of their own. I mean, Lakers got a lot more to show before it can really put them in that kind of tier. But look, from what you're saying, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's any reason to think they can't compete at the top of the West right now. And we'll like I just keep harping on. It's really exciting to see what it can keep turning into.
Yeah, it's pretty close. I think that my biggest hesitation would be like they're gonna probably play the Nuggets in the second round, and we know how that's gone for the Lakers. So that's my I don't know. I think again, like they're on a 7-game winning streak. They're not slaying crappy competition. I think I would
Yeah.
say yes, but I don't feel strongly about that, but they're playing like they certainly are there. Let's talk about a team who was second in the West, and they are not, and they are probably not going to be again because Jaren Jackson Jr. Has is going to be out week to week, probably 2 to 3 weeks for a grade 2 ankle sprain. We saw them play last night against the OKC Thunder, and they hung around. We'll talk a little bit more about that game. But 4-game losing streak, losing heartbreaker after heartbreaker
Yeah.
after heartbreaker before OKC kind of put them away in the third and put them to bed down the stretch there. But they didn't have Santi Aldama. They didn't have John Morant for most of this losing streak as well. But yeah, what have we seen here? Their defense is really falling apart. Their defense was like kind of okay yesterday, I thought. But where are you at with Memphis? Just like I guess let's pull back a little bit and say like how does this work without Jaren Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, these recent losses, just heartbreakers. I mean, some of the just, I mean, all of them, just some of the most devastating losses you'll see. And yeah, I mean, you really can't say enough about how much this Jaren Jackson injury is going to hurt them because
Mm-hmm.
he's been their best player, their most consistent player, and like we're seeing with Jaw, right, where Jaw has not really been, for more than a week or two at a time available, and Desmond Bain, who recently has been more healthy, but he's kind of been in and out too. So Jaren, who's really been the most consistent and their best player. I mean, he made the All Star team and everything. And without him now, I'm not sure. And like you're saying, we're gonna get more into the West, but it's starting where they looked like they had the second seed. They were really dominant. They had behind Oklahoma City the best point differential, and now you got to wonder as we keep getting deeper into March is how much are they going to fall in the West if Jaron is going to be out for decent period of time and Shaw isn't going to be consistently available. You kind of get worried about where they're going to fall. So I think really they're going to need more availability from Shaw because I don't think the team,
Mm-hmm.
without those two is really enough to compete with the top of the West.
Yeah, we saw their on-off defensive stats like really fall apart without Jaren Jackson. It's like an 8 point per 100 difference on-off. That's going to hurt a lot, and just the way they play defense, and we saw it, against SGA, who's just, I mean, SGA is unfair. Like you could do any scheme on SGA, and like you're going to lose, but they were trying to do that, and it just wasn't really working the same because they couldn't rotate. And we saw Aaron Wiggins again. Like, what else does Aaron Wiggins do besides hit big shots in the fourth quarter? And this kind of like gave it up a little bit easier on top of the stuff they were trying to take away. Like they really didn't do that, and I think that's really where Jaren Jackson makes up the extra rim protection. That's been an issue for them this year. We're gonna have to see Zach Edey really protect the paint, and I don't know if he could recover and help their rotations. He's just not fleet of foot enough to cover from the weak side like some other players, and then just it puts their other defensive spots in just they're a little compromised. Like they can't like over rotate and leave guys open that they want to. So I think it's going to leave them pretty vulnerable defensively. I'm not too worried about their offense. I think that getting Santi Aldama back, who missed the last game, and a couple more before that, I think him coming back will do enough on offense. Jaren, as great as he's been as a driver, I think having Ja, if he could stay healthy, and Bane, we've seen Bane be really one of the best drivers since the break from an efficiency standpoint. Having Bane being able to replace Jaren's driving on top of Ja Morant staying healthy, when you still have the floor spacing from Santi Aldama, and we saw Brandon Clark have a big game yesterday. I think those guys, I think they'll be able to manage offensively. They're still going to play with a lot of pace. We saw that yesterday without Jaren. That's still going to hold up. We saw Vince Williams play a little bit more. He was more comfortable offensively as well. So I think they've got enough to cover them offensively, but they're going to have to. They're going to be a team. I mean, like you were saying, they gave up to 130 to the Spurs, 132 to the Hawks, and then they couldn't score yesterday. That was kind of an issue. But credit to OKC. OKC's defense was struggling, but I think their defense was kind of back on track, and they were really locked in. Actually, Taylor Jenkins was asked after the game, is OKC the most connected defense you see in the NBA? He said, absolutely. Next question. He's just like, yeah, like they're insanely connected. So, yeah, I'm a little bit concerned. Their schedule's not like the hardest, but they've got some tough games here. They've got at Dallas. They should win that. We'll talk about Dallas in a second. At the Pels, Phoenix, Utah should win that. It gets a little tough here. Cleveland, Miami, at Sacramento, at Portland, at Clippers. So that stretch right there, that's going to be really tough. So I would say they're going to be probably under 500 over that stretch. So you're talking like fifth, sixth seed, I would say, right? So yeah, I guess anything else you want to add on the Grizzlies? They'll get Jaren back for the playoffs, you would think. But how bad could this go with the schedule that I mentioned? Do you think they could kind of fall, potentially lose 4 games in like a 2-3 week stretch? Is that possible, or even worse, is that likely?
I think it's certainly possible, and unless Ja is going to consistently play down the stretch here, I think you'd almost say likely. Where it's not even them too just falling down; it's a couple of those West teams that we're going to get to that are surging up at the same time. So it's just really a perfect storm right now as they're dropping, and yeah, I mean you got to be concerned. So we'll see how they can manage coming up, but a lot is going to be on Desmond Bane's shoulders coming down here, and we saw it like especially at the end of that Atlanta game when Jaren, it's like you know he's great now. He had that 30-point triple double, but some of that late game offense was really tough. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, you got to be concerned right now about where they can fall down the West.
Yeah, they Bane kind of disappeared in the second half of that game, but again, it's OKC. Like you can't count on your perimeter players to crush, and they weren't really hitting the open shots there, which Santi Aldama will really help them with the ability to size, hit the boards, and spacing. So yeah, pretty worried there. I was actually taking a lot of Memphis in. Whenever I pick 5th or 6th in a playoff best ball draft. For those of you guys, I'll usually take Donovan Mitchell, build Cavs, or take a Jaylen Brown, Kristaps, and then kind of look for pieces later. And then I always wind up taking like John Morant, Jaren Jackson. That was before these injuries. Now I'm not doing that anymore. But yeah, I thought they had a chance, and I don't know. It's going to be a pretty uphill climb. It's still pretty open in the West there. So let's talk about another team struggling. No, let's get the Kyrie thing out of the way. The best quote was from Jason Kidd yesterday. He was talked about what we're going to do, and he said, quote, "It's next man up, and we're running out of the next man," which is like so true. Like they're down to 8 guys, and they just couldn't hang around. The fact that spread was 11 yesterday against the Bucks was laughable. Like, is it over today's March 6th? We're supposed to get that big update for Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, and Anthony Davis. Like, does it matter? Like, I don't think. Like, I don't know how. When we saw, there's just no handling on this team. Spencer Dinwiddie couldn't do anything. Like, their best guard yesterday was Brandon Williams, who's going to play more apparently. So, like, is it just over? And like, you're going to be the 10 seed at best. And yeah, like they're the 10 seed at best at this point, right?
Absolutely, and I mean, even hanging on to the 10 seed right now,
Yeah.
and look, I mean, the Suns, I mean, that's a whole nother thing. But like, yeah, I mean, I think best case scenario, they maybe hang on to the 10 seed, but like even that, I'm pretty skeptical on because like, how is this team going to win games? I mean, you
Yeah.
look at their roster now; they barely. I mean, they only had 8 available last game. They signed Kai Jones for them, and he's out, and it's like, oh, like they just need bodies, like you're saying with that Jason Kidd quote. So, yeah, for this season, it's about as bleak as it can be, and you got to think going forward too now. I mean, how does this look too? Where Kyrie, he's not going to be ready to start next season. Maybe in the middle, most likely late in the season.
Hmm.
And what
Hmm.
does he look like when he comes? I mean, there's just all these questions. And following the Luka trade, as so, I mean, everything that could go wrong feels like has gone wrong, and quite unfortunate. And there's really, I mean, hard to spin any positives right now of their situation. It's quite bleak.
Yeah, Caleb Martin should be back pretty soon. We saw him get the double tag, so he'll be back. That'll help. But I mean, they're just missing, two really important components to basketball teams. They're missing ball handling, shot creation, kind of the same bucket, and then they're like missing center rim protection, and it's really showing. I mean, Giannis just had his way in the paint, and we've seen that. Over even when they had Kyrie, they were getting killed inside over and over again. So we'll see if this March 6th update that we'll get today could get somebody back. I mean, Lively's not close. I don't think Anthony Davis is coming
Mhm.
back in the next week or so. So it certainly seems pretty bleak. I don't know if you want to talk about. I don't really want to beat a dead horse for any Mavs fan listening, but I mean, what do we even do with this? Like, how down bad are this? Is about as bad as it gets for the Nico Harrison, and I mean, like at this point, like how does Nico have his job this summer? It's just unraveled in such a gross way there. But yeah, this couldn't have really gone worse to lose Kyrie for a long period of time on an ACL. Like it's a complete nightmare scenario.
And we remember too, in that where Nico was talking about the quote, long term vision, which he said
Hmm.
was 3 years or whatever. Well, how does that
Hmm.
look now? Where
Hmm.
next season, I don't want to say is like you throw it up, but you can't imagine you're getting the kind of version of Kyrie you need to like fully compete, and Anthony Davis is just gonna be a year older, and so like what is the timeline for this team now going forward? It's really unclear, and it's really unfortunate. It's just crazy. I think this is the same team in the finals last year, and now we're
Hmm.
talking about them about how just. I mean, this is as this is as tough a situation could be right now. So, I mean, yeah, for this season, it's really bleak, and even looking forward, it's hard to be optimistic about much right now. So, really, really tough times.
Yeah, it's probably tank time. They have their pick this year, so I don't know. I think they're just
Yeah.
going to shut it down. I don't think there's any reason to play Anthony Davis anymore. So yeah, I think it's shutdown time. Yeah, I think Kai Jones, if he's not out for a long time, I think he's going to play pretty good minutes. And I'll add, I was listening to the Dallas broadcast yesterday, and like they were talking about like how many games are left on two-way deals. Like you're really in trouble when you're counting two-way days left. That's my job as we get down the middle of March here. So no more talk about the Mavs. We'll talk more about the offseason, but this has gone horribly wrong. Last team we're going to talk about that's struggling, just to knock out the struggle buses out of the way, is I guess your Houston Rockets. You're pretty big on the Rockets. They've really kind of faltered here, and I think I could pretty clearly tell you why. I think losing Fred VanVleet's like a big deal. And having the adult in the room, having someone who could take care of the basketball, kind of set the tempo, set the table for these guys, has really hurt them in a way where their offense is kind of stagnant here. Jalen Green just running it. Jalen Green going cold, certainly another reason why. But Houston Rockets losing 3 straight and just not dominating, losing a lot of easy games they should have won, blowing it. Throwing the ball around the gym late in the game in their last game, and just not having the same effort and being able to, I mean, the fact that like Halliburton was getting wherever he wanted the other night, they just don't have the same ability to like really shut down teams like they were, earlier in the year. And even when they were winning, they were still kind of like winning on offense, and their defense was kind of meh. So the Rockets falling down to 5th. They've got a 3-game cushion from the Red Hot Warriors, who we'll talk about. I guess it's kind of like, who are you more worried about, the Rockets or the Grizzlies? I think it's a pretty easy answer for me. But how do you feel about where the Rockets are, what they could do to improve, and then do you like their chances more of getting, holding the 4-5 more so than the Grizzlies?
I think all of it just comes down to the availability of Fred VanVleet, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to really be optimistic about Attell stats right now. Where he tried to return the other day, and
Mm-hmm.
it you gotta really be concerned right now because, like you're saying too, that's the adult in the room right now in offense, and Jalen Green, who at times I've never been a huge Jalen Green guy, but he showed a lot this season, but this kind of role where, set the table and be a facilitator and kind of put everyone in the right position right now is not
Hmm.
really his strength. And, you saw last game, he was just really struggling. And, I don't know how they get it back on track without Van Vliet. It's really hard to see a optimistic version. And like you're saying, they got a 3 game cushion right now for the Red Hot Warriors, and the Wolves are coming from quick too.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm pretty concerned about where they'll where they'll land from here. But unless this offense gets fixed, you got to think it's going to keep coming down for them. So yeah, like I said, this team before the season was really high on, but right now, for what we've been seeing lately, you can't share that same optimism.
Yeah, their shooting's kind of falling apart. That was really boosting them. We saw it was really just Jalen Green, among others, and Cam Whitmore hitting shots and all that. But yeah, I think they'll be all right. Like I have nowhere near concerns compared to them, compared to the Grizzlies. I think they'll be all right. I'm going to pull up their schedule real quick here. I think they'll be all right to kind of hold water. Yeah, their schedule's not that bad. They're at New Orleans today, and they face New Orleans at home on Saturday. Orlando at home, Phoenix at home, Dallas at home, Chicago at home, Philly at home. That's very winnable. And then you'd think Fred VanVleet would probably be back by then, and then at Orlando, at Miami, Denver, Atlanta. So their schedule's pretty good. So they've got a pretty good chance here to kind of hold water. So I feel pretty sure that the Rockets are going to be for sure above 6. I'm not worried about them falling that far. A little bit worried about the Warriors catching them, but I don't think both the Warriors and the Wolves, who we'll talk about, could catch them. But feel like this is just kind of a run bad situation, but they definitely have lost their mojo, and their toughness on defense
Yeah.
definitely jumps out overall. So let's change gears to some good teams here. We're only going to talk about 2 in somewhat detail, not that much. Let's talk about the Golden State Warriors. This is another win with Jimmy. I think they're what are they, like 9-1 with Jimmy Butler in the lineup, something to that effect. They only lost that Dallas game, which was a stunner to me. But yeah, they've only lost 1 game since Jimmy joined the team. They took it to Captain Clutch at the Garden, and they've been winning. I think they've covered every win with Jimmy Butler in the lineup there. So yeah, is this Warriors? The big question is, are they? Who would you put above them? Do you think this is sustainable for them? Their schedule's been kind of softish, but yeah, what have you been seeing from the Warriors to make them go on this crazy run with Jimmy Butler in the lineup?
I mean, this has gone about as well as they could have possibly hoped, right? I mean, you think
Mhm.
about where it was pre Jimmy trade, and I mean, yeah, it's given them everything they wanted, right? And
Mhm.
the kind of connect the balance that Jimmy brings with Steph too has just been so unique, and you can just tell with Steph too the way he's playing and like the kind of joy he's showing now again. Where we saw in some of those games before the Jimmy trade, it just looked like sad almost, right? And now Steph
Yeah.
seems to be playing with that joy again, and when he's hitting threes and the good, so it's just like, I mean, everything that could have gone right, it seems like. I mean, it seems like it couldn't be going any better right now. So Draymond's been playing great through the
Yeah.
stretch too. Whole team effort. They finally have a starting lineup that they're sticking with. It seems with Pajemski and Moses Moody joint starting lineup with Draymond Green. Like, I mean, I mean, insane turnaround. And Jimmy's doing exactly what what he's been doing from the start. And Drew and I on the pod last month, we were talking earlier about Jimmy's ability to get to the free throw line, that rim pressure, especially while Kuminga's out, and he stayed with that. And for the Warriors right now, it's just all wheels up, and we'll see how much they can keep building off of this. But you got to certainly think there's no reason to think it can't go on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key here is Steph. Like
Mhm.
obviously Jimmy's been great. Jimmy's been fine, but Steph's been great lately.
Yeah.
And looking at their last 6 games and the 186 minutes with Steph Curry on the court, they're at a plus 24.8 net rating, 128 offensive rating. They are absolutely killing it in the Steph minutes. And then they're bad. I would say this has the Philly game in there. The game they got destroyed. I think they were like minus 21 or whatever in the non-Steph minutes. So even with that factored in, they're minus 6.3. So I'd say they're probably breaking even with Jimmy minutes. I'd even say a little bit on the positive. That one game really pulled them down. But yeah, they're just absolutely torching teams in the Steph minutes, and it's a testament to Steph looking great. We got a little bit of an ankle scare. We saw that Charlotte game, and major props to Steph, right? He was limping after post-game media. Some Warriors beat had noted in his story that Steph was limping going to his hotel in New York when he arrived. So he was not 100%. Goes out there, puts on a show again at the Garden, always wins. Jared Greenberg had that stat. He's 13-1 now at the Garden, including his Davidson win there. But yes, the Steph minutes have gone insanely well. Draymond, I think Draymond playing well is huge as well.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy's just doing enough to hold it together in non-step minutes. Give him a secondary option, and him and Draymond, the communication defensively, I think is pretty awesome. So yeah, I'm certainly buying the Warriors. I'm definitely always a Warriors bull. I'm quick to buy what they're selling there. But yeah, it sounds like to me, you and I kind of feel that they're taking that 4 or 5 seed. Like whether with the Grizzlies faltering, it's really at the Grizzlies. So I think you and I think that the Warriors have enough time to get into the 4-5 spot. I don't know if they want to do that because you're kind of setting yourself up on the OKC side of the bracket here. But yeah, like, is it likely to you that the Warriors are like the 4-5 seed?
I think so at this point, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's no reason to think otherwise. And from what Memphis and Houston have been showing lately, it's not like, there's really they're really showing enough to think that, the Warriors can't pass them. So I mean, and Steph is gonna play like this. I mean, God, they're live against anyone. It's just yeah, it's really it's quite the turnaround from where they were pre-trade. I mean, this is I mean, however they had this envision going post-trade, I don't think it could have been as well as this. So yeah, they're still firing, and we'll see how they can keep going on with this, but it doesn't look like there's any reason to think right now that, especially while Steph's playing like this, it's going to stop. So I like their chances of, just keep climbing up the West.
Yeah, and don't forget, I'm surprised you didn't point it out on your own. You're going to make me say it. They get Jonathan Kuminga back soon. So the Kuminga Sharks, he won't be playing much. He'll be on a pretty hard limit. He's been out for what, month and a half, 2 months now, I'd say, from that really severe ankle sprain, like a Max Strus level ankle sprain, not a Matisse Thybulle level ankle sprain, but pretty bad one. Nobody is, yeah. So yeah, buying the Warriors schedule wise at Brooklyn today, 10-point favorites, I believe. Then Detroit, they got a nice long homestand here. Detroit, Portland, Sacramento, New York, Denver, Milwaukee, Portland, Toronto for the last one, all at home. So they could really make some hay. They do not have they have one back-to-back in there. So with no travel though. So they could really, really make up some ground here for these guys. So yeah, I'm definitely buying them. And then the last team I want to talk about is a team that's getting healthy all of a sudden. They'll get Rudy Gobert back soon, but Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle coming back, I think, has really, really revitalized the Wolves. Winning pretty easy a couple times, and then taking care of business. The Hornets were rough back to back. Hey, they didn't get in until 5 in the morning. I think Chris Finch said. He said there's been 6 times they've gotten in after 3 a.m. On road travel games and have been able to perform. They've been playing great, and to me, it really starts with Julius Randle just picking up. Not even where he left off because he was like struggling. Yeah. Like he looks really good to me. And then Dante DiVincenzo, obviously the shooting, but he's been really good with assist to turnover ratio. He's been getting downhill more. That dynamic, which Chris Finch talked about a lot before they both got hurt, and that's part of the reason why they started Dante DiVincenzo with him, because they liked the chemistry they had from New York. So it's really been those two guys on top of Jaden McDaniels, who I want to talk about separately. But getting Dante back and getting Julius Randle back, are the Wolves like safe? Are they like the favorite for the 7? Could they climb into this group? How do you feel about where the Wolves are and how they've been playing lately?
Yeah, I mean, they're right there with the Warriors right now, right? Surging up, and kind of we're talking with Memphis and Houston coming for them. And yeah, I mean, as they're starting to get healthy, and Randle, I mean, like you're saying, not pick up where he left off, starting something new where he is just playing awesome. And last game, he gets the near triple double and just great passes everywhere, and everyone stepping up. So yeah, I mean, it's really coming together for them. And where earlier they were really struggling for a while, and it wasn't looking great. But as this team is like slowly starting to form together, and the one piece when Rudy gets back, we'll see how he fits in there. Naz Reid has been awesome starting in his place while he's been out. I mean, this offensive surge from Jaden McDaniels, who we're going to get into more, it's just been amazing. And even on defense too, where they're really tapping into different things. Where you saw even last game where they don't even put Jaden on LaMelo. Especially while Rudy's out, they kind of just have him roaming around, and he's been awesome at. I mean, there's just they've been really, really good. And I was pretty down on this team. Earlier this season there just wasn't a lot, and I certainly wasn't seeing the surge coming up. But there's a lot that seems sticky, and a lot to be looking forward to for them.
Yeah, Jaden McDaniels, 29 last night. Again, no free throws. A lot of teams do this where they put Mark Williams or Nurk or Diabate, whoever they were all putting on him. They play the high to center game, and he's gotten so good at exploiting that night after night. And it's just I mean, the fact that he's almost scored like 20 a night in the last month, it's pretty insane for a guy who was like, like I said on the DFS show, like he was priced at like 4,300 on DFS. Now he's like almost 7K for DFS, and it's really just, again, this guy's got an ability to. And I talk about, I love summer league stuff, and like we saw him, he can get his own shot, and he has length, and he has enough touch to kind of get it going there. He's got size to hit the boards. He's been hitting the glass a ton. Also, part of the reason why I think that the rebounding rate's been a little bit better, because Jaden's got size and he's not guarding on the ball. That's given an ability to hit the boards more. So as much as we love his on-ball defense, they've gotten enough out of Nikhil Alexander-Walker, out of the Crime Stopper, Jalen Clark. They've got enough of this on-ball defense to keep Jaden. And then when I think that's going to change when they kind of get when the chips are down against bigger teams. Like, they're going to put him on the Lukas and all those guys. But yeah, Jaden's just been one of the best stories in NBA. Like, he has to be first or second team all defense for sure, and he's not going to be most improved. But the fact that this guy's a 20-point scorer, like, over a sustained period of time, like, Randall was out, all that, but like, hey, he scored 20 now with Randall in the lineup last night. So and 17 the night before that. He's been just so good. He's certainly a big reason why. But hey, I mean, Na's been awesome, really up and down the lineup. Even like Anthony Edwards has been like fine. You would think that this team playing well would be like, oh yeah, Ant went off. No, it's like Ant's like, obviously Ant's been great, but if you made me list reasons why the Wolves look better, like, Ant would not be in the top 3 or 4 of them. It would be Julius and Dante and Jaden all playing like way better. But they should get Gobert back. So yeah, I'm pretty interested if this team could kind of be live. Do you think they've got any juice to like get out of 2 rounds, or do you think it's more like maybe they get out of 1 kind of situation?
I think I'd want to see more of it. But look, if especially on the Jay McDaniels point, if he is going to be this kind of offensive threat and unlock, really the worry with them, right, is just where they're going to get enough offense. I mean, the defense always been there, and if they're going to get this kind of firepower, you got to think they're really live to compete. I want to see more of it, and I also want to see, once Gobert comes back, how does he integrate and what does that do the rotation and all. But I mean, from what we've seen lately and the way they've been able to really just fire away on offense is like, I mean, you got to be really encouraged. So I'm certainly buying, but want to see a little more of it before, fully thinking, they're at they could really compete in the West. But I mean, just, shout out to them and shout out to Jaden. He's just been so good.
For sure. So let's pull back then. Let's wrap up with the way we wrapped up the last episode. OKC with a bullet. Like, yeah, their defense has been struggling. Guess what? Their offense has been insane. They've been like the number 1 offense over the last month or so. So they're number 1. And you still, after talking through the Warriors, we haven't talked about the Nuggets, who have been playing pretty well. So you still lean in Lakers to kind of the number 2 team, kind of team to beat situation here?
I think so. I think for the top 3, I feel pretty good about, where I would go OKC, then Lakers, and Denver, where they've had their struggles at times and everything. But I think that they've shown enough still to be number 3 to me. So I think that I feel pretty confident in that top 3.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know. I think I feel pretty good that Denver's going to be in the top 3 for me. I don't think they're going to be moved out, no matter how hot the Warriors get, no matter how bad the Nuggets look. I feel pretty good, but I think I could pull the Lakers out eventually. Right now, I'm going to take them. I just don't like the fact that to me, it's setting up so likely that the Nuggets are going to play the Lakers in the second round. That, like, I'm going to put the Nuggets number 2 just because of that, and not to be a prisoner of their moment. So I'm going to lean Denver for the Lakers, and then it sounds like we're going Warriors 4th for, like, to be clear, this isn't where the seeding's going to be. Like, if we're picking like teams likely to come out of the West, I mean, it feels very. I'm like I said, I could see the Warriors hopping the Lakers to me. Like, I'm buying the Warriors, as I always do. I'm a sucker for the Warriors.
Yeah, and I mean, not prisoner moment. I'm right there with you in Gold State. And you're talking the Lakers Denver too, where they got a couple games against each other these next couple weeks too that I think are going to be really interesting to see. So I'm right there with you on the Warriors, though, right? And I mean, especially while Steph just continues to play like this. I mean, I feel pretty good about it too, having them 4th, and it's pretty crazy to think.
Yeah, I mean, that's a gap, right? Like, after those top 4, right? I mean, I don't feel very good about the Grizzlies right now. I don't feel very good about the Rockets right now. The Wolves are. I mean, I don't know. I might even put the Wolves, man. We know Anthony Edwards can be a killer. Is that kind of, I don't know, man. The Rockets that could turn me around pretty quick, but yeah, I think I'll still take the Rockets if you made me pick. What do you think? Who would you put fifth?
I mean, I feel prisoner of the moment, but I kind of lean the Wolves right now.
Yeah,
Just what they're
yep,
showing on off. I mean, like it's crazy as it is, and we haven't seen it much. But like, I mean, if the offense is there, it's like the ceiling is really really high for this team.
yeah,
So this is certainly if we did this quite a while, it wouldn't have been this way. But yeah, I mean,
mm,
I'll take the Wolves fifth right now. I think as
yeah.
as surprising as it is.
Yeah, I think I would too. We saw them mostly do it last year before things just kind of went bad with Luka, and they'll probably. I think they match up pretty well with OKC. I think they've got having if they do somehow manage to face OKC in the first round, which hey could happen. I could see them getting hot. And
Yeah.
we talked about the Warriors climbing up and catching them. Hey, they're the same amount of games out, so they could definitely get hot and get in the OKC side of the bracket. They've got the length and the ability to hit the boards. They match up pretty well with them. So I think that they match up. I think they're obviously the Rockets beat OKC once this year, a really impressive win for them. But I don't know. We need Fred VanVleet to stay on the court there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would be that. Then I would be. Then to be clear, like I think there's such a gap. I think there's like pretty minimal chance that the Wolves do. But and then yeah, I don't know. I just got to see the Grizzlies kind of put it together health wise. So I'd put Rockets, Grizzlies, Clippers kind of there, and then Kings, and that's all we got. I don't think the
Yeah.
Suns have much chance, but anything you want to mention on those kind of last teams that are almost certainly going to be just in and out in the first round?
Yeah, I feel very similar to you. And just on that Memphis point too, where you can tell, when we saw in the beginning when they're healthy and rolling, like you can tell yourself a story, but we just haven't
Mm.
seen it. And, especially with Jaw being in and out this much, it's hard to really, have a ton of confidence right now. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you on how the West is shaping up here.
Yep, for sure. So it should be fun to watch OKC just kind of run away with it. SGA is
Yeah.
probably putting MVP to bed here pretty soon. As they're 51-11 for the. I think they closed their win total. What closed like 52, 53. That's going to happen this
Yeah.
week. So OKC too good. And anything else you want to mention before I close this out here?
No, just I mean, it's just the West is just so much fun, right? We're just naming off all these teams and all these different guys stepping up and everything. So, this next month and just how tight it is right now too in the standings. So, it's going to make for a really interesting stretch rundown, and I'm excited to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I'm really excited as well. I love. I'm trying to tune out my bad basketball. I'm going to be writing a lot of matchups. I'm trying to watch more good teams and wash away my bad basketball situation as we get ready for these playoffs. So yeah, established in NBA, we'll be grinding away with the projections every day. We'll be doing the shows every Monday through Friday, doing the injury shows, DFS shows. Scroll Patrol has been fantastic for us. So check us out at establishedrun.com. Still have the players prop stuff going along there as we're still grinding it away there. It's been really, really fun and challenging this time of year. We'll be on top of the injury news the best we can. It is quite an endeavor, but a lot of fun and a lot of profits to be made here. So appreciate you guys listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.